Well, we're back with the second part of Family Idols, and we want to continue, but this time we're going to go a little bit deeper into John 4, where the woman at the well encounters Jesus and how he deals with her idol in the natural, but also deals with some soulish idols. And that's what we're dealing with, okay, is things in our family, things that come through our generations, traditions or habits or things that not necessarily bad in themselves, but they could be if they're out of balance, okay? And we want to look at how Jesus dealt with this in this woman's life, okay? So we hope it ministers to you and opens up your eyes, your heart to maybe what something you need to be dealing with in your life, okay?
Yes. So the woman at the well, she was a Samaritan. And the Samaritans, if you don't know, they were half Jewish. You know, they came from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they had intermarried with other cultures, other nations. And they were seen as a mixed breed by the Jews that were not mixed. And there was a lot of, conflict and racism, prejudice between them, right? And but Jesus comes to this woman, and she's there at the well, and she's drawing water, and Jesus asks her for water. And what the Lord shows me is that, you know, he will always ask us for our idols, what we have in our lives as idols. And so he asked her for water, and she's like, what? You're talking to me? You know, it's like really finding it strange. You know, a lot of us, we're surprised when God starts talking to us because we feel unworthy, you know, of him. But Jesus is the one that is worthy, and he loves us, and he will put his worthiness on us because of his value he places on us. That's where our worthiness comes, to him, to God. So he talks to her, and she's like, he's telling her, he's like, if you knew the generosity of God, the gift of God, who is the generosity of God? It's Jesus. He's standing there right in front of her. But she doesn't know it. She don't know that God is generous. God wants to give her a gift. She's used to people taking from her. She's used to having to serve and to be taken advantage of. And here's someone, he's standing and he's like, okay, don't, you know, you're afraid to give me something that I'm asking for.
And she was in survival mode all her life.
Right.
You know? She was trying to survive.
But if you knew who it is, this gift of God that's in front of you, this generosity of God that's in front of you, he says, you would turn around and you would ask me for living water. And I like verse 11. She says, how are you going to give me living water? You don't have a bucket or a rope to draw from this well. And it's deep. It's very deep. It's hard. It's hard to get to. And then she says, are you better than our father Jacob, who dug this well? He's the one who gave us this well. He and his children drank from this well. The cattle got from this well. So right there, she's showing us what her people's idol was. It was that water from that well. Because in that area of the world, it's very dry, arid, like desert. So of course, if you didn't have water, and in that time, it's not like today that we got faucets to turn on and we got water, refrigerators to go to and get water, or even stores to buy water. There, if you didn't get a well where you could bring up fresh, you know, water, you didn't survive. There was no surviving in that area. So that was their survival. That was their survival mode, was being able to draw water. They had to have a long rope and a bucket. So what I would say that if a child set that rope on fire, he would be in severe trouble. I would say if that child got that bucket, whatever it was made of, if it was made of skin in that day and punctured a bunch of, oh boy, I bet you he'd get the beating of his life. Why? Because that was their survival. You know, that was their mode to stay alive. So Jesus is starting to show her, and she's showing what her idols are. And she's saying, now, you want me to give up my mode of survival and take hold of what you're offering me. Wait a minute. We've been surviving on this through all these ancestors, and it's been working for us. We're still alive, barely, but we're still alive. You know, we're all beat up, but we're still alive. We're still making it. And Jesus like, but this water, you're barely making it. You're all beat up. You're barely surviving. You know, just because you think you're alive, you're not really alive. And he says, I want to give you living water. I want to give you a water that you won't thirst again. He says, because this one here, it's not doing it for you. You're still thirsty. You're still looking. You're still longing. You're not living that abundant life that God intends you to live. And she starts saying, okay, well then give it to me. I want that. Come fix my problem. I don't want to come out here in this heat of the day. I don't want to have to draw heavy buckets of water all the time and carry it all the way to my house. Come fix this problem for me. And then Jesus like, that's not your real root problem. He says, go call your husband. And then it's like, I don't have a husband. And he says, okay, now we're getting to your root problem. And she's like, he tells her, he says, you've had 5 husbands, and the man you're with now is not your husband. And she starts perceiving like, ooh, he must be a prophet. And Jesus starts touching her heart. Why? Why did she go through 5 husbands? Why was she with a man that wasn't her husband? Why was she there in the heat of the day, which was not the typical time that the women came to draw water? She was suffering a lot.
She was an outcast.
She was an outcast. Yeah. She was suffering shame. She was suffering fear, rejection, loss. What was causing those things in her life? It was heart issues. Relationships don't work when you have heart issues. When you have those things that are idols. You know, if I have fears in my life, I'll have idols to protect me from those fears. Whether it's I develop anger, because you know what anger is saying when you blow up on your spouse or your kids or your brothers or your sisters or your friends? It's saying, hey, you're getting close to my fear. You're getting close to, you're touching my pain, and I'm going to scare you away with my tone, with the volume of my voice, with the expression in my face, with the words I'm going to lash out at you. Back off. That's my survival mode, you see? Or maybe I become very witty with my tongue, and I say everything that I think you want to hear to please you, to appease the situation so that I can be protected from what's going on. Or I outwit you. I think, oh, I need to, be smarter than you. Or my idol is a wall around my heart where I've done built up such a wall that I know I'm not even letting you in, letting you close. Or it's I need to make a lot of money because I've suffered so much from being poor. My family were so humiliated from being poor, so we better serve the idol of money so we're never humiliated again. It can be all these things. It can be like, oh, you got to study, and you never finish studying because you got to be a brain, to outwit everybody, to survive.
It can be reputation, the position you're in.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got to maintain that reputation. People kill other people to hide stuff, to not affect their reputation. They'll lie to not affect their reputation. So all these things can be such idols of our hearts, of fear in our heart. And Jesus is addressing her and saying, I want to heal you of these wounds that you suffered, this rejection. She was not only rejected by some of her people, which would have been the descendants of Jacob, she has been being rejected also by husbands, by men, people that she should be able to trust, people that should have been there to take care of her, to protect her. She's been suffering rejection, conflict, disapproval, and being shamed. And Jesus wants to heal her. And he says, he starts addressing the problem. He's like, it's a problem of worship. You see, when we worship something, we serve it, we fear it, we it's so important for us. We become a slave to it. And so that's where you got to see these things. They're not bad in and of themselves, but when you're serving them to a place where you're so enthralled in serving that you'll hurt the people you love the most. See, people would sacrifice their children to their idols. See, when I'm serving, as a mom, I can just chew my kids up if they were affecting my idol. And he could just chew me up or chew the kids up if we were affecting his idol. And we'll sacrifice the people we love, our most precious possession. We'll sacrifice it to the idols we're serving. So if you find yourself conflicted because you see you're doing stuff like this with the people you love, then that means there's idols in your heart that God wants to address in your heart and heal you of the traumas, the pain, the fear, everything that caused you to develop those idols. And he wants you to come, like Jesus said. It's not this mountain or that mountain. Don't worship at this idol or that idol. Come worship God, the true God, in spirit and in truth. Set those things, they're all lies. All other gods are lies that you're serving. Come serve the truth that sets you free. Come serve this fountain of living water that will never run dry, that you'll never thirst again. Come serve the living God. Be free. And when Joe and I, we got to that place where we recognize these things, and then we like, okay, we're casting down these idols. These things, they're good in balance, but we're not going to be in idolatry towards them. We're casting them down, and we're going to come together in unity and agreement, and we're going to serve the living God in spirit and in truth. And since we've come into this knowledge and this determination together, the Lord has enabled us to live in harmony with each other, in peace, and serve God together. You know, y'all realize Joe and I, we live side by side 24/7. And we have fun. We enjoy serving God together. We enjoy doing things together. And it's just a gift from God. That's what God gives us. And we want that for you too.
So be encouraged that as you have been revealed, if the Lord's revealing to you certain idols in your life, don't worry about it. Give it to the Lord. Give that idol to the Lord, okay? And let him replace it with his true love, and worship him in spirit and truth. And as always, be blessed, and always keep your eyes on Jesus.